Hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS. Guys, today in this mains article discussion series, we are going to talk at length about Model Code of Conduct. What is Model Code of Conduct? When did it come into force? We will talk about its evolution. We will talk about whether we need it or we don't need it. Do we need to have a legal backing for the Model Code of Conduct, or we don't need it? That is one of the most debatable topics these days. Also, since the elections are approaching, the general elections, Model Code of Conduct is quite in news. So we will also look at the shortcomings, the current status of Model Code of Conduct, and what it is all about in this class. So stay till the end. We will talk about the initiatives of ECI and the way forward on implementation of Model Code of Conduct as well. So let's get started. Now this topic comes under your GS2 paper, and whatever sort of topics we are going to discuss can be framed into a question. And once you have a proper understanding why we need a Model Code of Conduct, do we need to give it a statutory backing, do we not need to give it, and all these things. So after that you will be able to articulate an answer to any question that is given to you. Okay, so let's get started with this topic. So first of all, we will talk about what is this Model of Conduct, what is the history of evolution of the same. Was it already a part of the Constitution? So first of all, we have to understand one thing: Model Code of Conduct is not a part of the Constitution, neither it has any statutory backing. It is not backed by any act of the Parliament or any state legislatures. Okay. In 1960s, there were state assembly elections in Kerala, and during those days a Model Code of Conduct was rolled out to conduct free and fair elections. So what were the issues, what were the disturbances? So whenever elections are held, the parties, political parties, various political parties, they always try to take benefit, or they try to play vote bank politics by creating differences amongst different segments of people. And there are a lot more things that political parties pursue. So to put an end to all of these, what happened was the Kerala, okay, the election commissioner here, for this election, he said, let's have a Model Code of Conduct. So he penned down certain rules, and these rules were followed by the political parties, and as a result the election process was smoother. And so in 1962, for the Lok Sabha elections, this Model Code of Conduct was then implemented, the general elections for Lok Sabha. So this is how it evolved. And when it comes to Model Code of Conduct, we also have to know that T.N. Sessions sir is known as one of the most important person when it comes to electoral reforms. So if you have a question about electoral reforms, please do not forget to mention the name of T.N. Sessions sir. He was the Chief Election Commissioner of India for one term, and he implemented lot of reforms which are ongoing today itself, and these reforms have really changed the way elections are conducted. He was the election commissioner in 1990s. Okay. Now since we know the evolution of the entire process, we know it is not mentioned in the Constitution, we know it is not backed by any law, so it is non-statutory in nature, and we know how it evolved, we know whose name to put in when we have a question on electoral reforms or Model Code of Conduct. So T.N. Sessions sir brought about lot of new pointers in the Model Code of Conduct which ensured free and fair elections and a smooth process of elections. So since we have been talking so much about the Model Code of Conduct, let us understand why do we need a Model Code of Conduct. So whenever now understand, whenever you read any topic, try to bifurcate it into sectors, that if this provision is brought about in practice, how it is going to benefit the different people associated with the same, be it an act, be it a policy, be it something like a model code of conduct. So, the first thing we will talk about is the Constitution of India under Article 324 gives Election Commission the, I would not say the authority, but the responsibility to conduct free and fair elections in India. So, enforcing or having a model code of conduct will help the Election Commission in fulfilling its constitutional responsibility. It will minimize the Election Commission's effort. How can you say that? How will it minimize? So just imagine there are thousands of political parties in India as of today. A lot of them are active, lot of them are inactive, but all in all, the number of political parties, it ranges in thousands. So how difficult it would be for the Election Commission here to give different instructions to all different political parties. So by having a common model code of conduct, a set of rules, we are here minimizing the effort of the Election Commission in giving instructions to different political parties and making it cumbersome for it. Another, it will smoothen the election process. Now in the next slide we are going to talk about the features of the model code of conduct, like the main pointers, okay. So those pointers are so well crafted that the entire election machinery is smoothened. So in the earlier phase of our elections, in like I would say the 70s or 80s or even 90s, there was a lot of booth capturing and other malpractices that were happening. What is booth capturing? Booth capturing is a process, it used to happen, what used to happen was after the polling was done, no, before the polling was done actually, a political party would put his goons at the booth. People going to vote in would not be given a free fair choice to put in the vote of their choice, but by using the ID or something of the voter, all the votes would be put for the political party whose goons have captured the booth. So this is called booth capturing. So T.N. Sessions sir, the one we spoke about, he took stringent measures against booth capturing. So what happens is now the model code of conduct says that only authorized personnel who are the part of machinery of the Election Commission to conduct the elections and the registered voters having a valid ID and the observer, only these people are allowed to enter the polling booths. So by having these things, the process is quite simplified. There are guidelines how the political parties will have their propaganda, how the meetings will be held, how the processions will be held. So all in all, what it does is it simplifies the entire election process by giving a set of guidelines to everyone. Okay, indisputable legitimacy. So here the Election Commission has the power to punish someone, okay, if they are violating the model code of conduct via various sections of IPC, CRPC and even RPA 1951. Now we will talk about how is it beneficial or why is it needed for the voters. Now a lot of us would have heard that in a said state, I will not name the state right now, in a said state people were given saris, or a lot of years ago, not few years ago, a few decades ago, there have been instances wherein gold bangles were distributed for voting. So there are different ways how the political parties or the particular candidate is using money to win over votes. So here what will happen is, by using money, a lot of political parties used to influence the voters. So it has stopped now. Here, judicial use of money. Of course, now there has been a way on how the accounting is done and how the political party is using the money. So यहाँ पे क्या होगा कि पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज जो है उनको अपने अकाउंट्स एंड एवरीथिंग ठीक से बता देने पड़ेंगे, सो दैट पैसे जो है वो जुडिशियसली यूज होंगे एंड देयर विल बी नो एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी एक्सपेंडिचर. Ensuring harmony, law and order. Now a few points in your model code of conduct. They also say that in the meetings or in the propaganda for getting votes, the leaders of a political party are not allowed to give out speeches or produce written or digital material which will increase conflict amongst two groups, be it communal, be it regional, be it religious. It is not allowed. So what will happen is, if people adhere to the model code of conduct properly, then we will have free and fair elections, just the way our constitution had given the responsibility to the Election Commission of India. Now how we need it for political parties. So what happens is, when we talk about elections, there is one party that is in power and there are other parties who are not in power. So this model code of conduct also says that the party in power is not supposed to do XYZ things. For example, the minister of a said ruling party often used to do what? Club his official visits along with the election propaganda. So that has been curbed. They used to use the government machinery, as in the offices, the people and everyone. So that has stopped. So it gives a level playing field for the party that is in power and the party that is not in power also. It puts everyone on an equal pedestal. Okay. Now the party in power. The party in power will be, there are a few provisions wherein the party in power has lot of restrictions on what it can do and not do from the time the elections are declared. So it puts a check on the arbitrary use of government resources or power used by the political party. Prevents conflict between parties. So here the election, the model code of conduct for the elections also has a few features or pointers on it, wherein if two political parties are having the procession on the same time, then they're supposed to take the permission from the police and ensure that the route they take and the timing they have decided are designed in a way, are scheduled in such a way that they don't meet and conflict is created. Also burning effigies of other political leaders, talking ill about political parties or leaders is also not allowed. You can criticize the policy of a certain party, but you cannot criticize certain leaders. So all these things will ensure that there is no conflict between political parties. So see, now we have understood that there are three stakeholders involved in an election: the election commissioner, the body that conducts the election, then political parties from who the contestants are contesting, and third, the voters. So now we have understood why do we need a model code of conduct for all three. Also guys, in your examination when you're writing the answer, or even for your revision when you're reading things, try to remember examples for each of the pointers, each of the dimension, each of the headlines or sub headlines that you come up with. It will give you better marks and it will help you remember also, first thing, and second thing, it will also help you build a proper rationale for what point you're producing. And otherwise, if you write all these things just in an ad hoc way, it will not really justify what do we need. Now let us look at the provisions. During the last slide, we spoke about a lot of provisions, है ना? So here let us just look at a few provisions with a bird eye view. Now you have to understand one thing, the provisions are given on the ECI website as well, but please do not go and try to mug up all the things, है ना? Because it is just going to be a waste of time, because no one is going to ask you to enumerate the features of model code of conduct. Try to remember the subheadings and a couple of points for each of the header. So let's start this. General conduct. Lot of points we have discussed about this in the last thing. So general conduct talks about what should be the general conduct of parties during the election thing. So it will have lot of things about what kind of propaganda a party should be doing, like we just discussed, that a person in power cannot talk, or a person, any person who's contesting cannot talk ill about other people. The meetings, okay, now we have a pointer called meetings. The meetings have to be held not on communal grounds, like you cannot go and hold a meeting in a mosque or a temple or a church. It has to be neutral. Also, in the meetings, there should be no disruption. If it's a meeting of X party, then the people of Y party cannot enter and disrupt the meetings and say slogans or distribute their leaflets or anything. Then about processions. Processions should be peaceful. When a procession has gone out, the people are supposed to walk on the right side of the road and ensure that they're not blocking the traffic. Also, processions of two political parties should not clash, right? We spoke about it in the last slide. On the polling day, what is supposed to be done? So guys, this model code of conduct, understand one thing. It is under force, it is enforced from the day elections are declared, and this is a 45-day period, okay, around roughly a 45-day period till the commencement of the elections, actual elections. And during these 45 days, these are a set of rules that a political party follows, okay. So on the polling day, what happens on the polling day? People are not allowed to, okay, print objectionable material and distribute leaflets. They are not allowed to have unsanctioned ads in print media. So what happens is, on the same day, on the polling day, no one is supposed to influence them. Now when we talk about polling booths, the same thing. Only registered voters are allowed to enter the polling booth and the administrative machinery that is ensuring the elections are happening. Now here there are observers. Every polling booth has an observer. So if you go for polling and if there is something that you're not really comfortable about, or if you see there's a malpractice happening, you're supposed to complain to the observer, and then the observer will seek you the remedy for the same. Observers will be allowed in the polling booths to ensure it is happening in a proper way. Party in power. The party in power is not allowed to roll out schemes, subsidies or any social benefits after the announcement of the election, okay. Then the ruling party in power, is not allowed to sanction any projects after the elections are declared. Party in power जो है वो गवर्नमेंट की कोई भी चीज़ें यूज़ नहीं करेगी. व्हीकल्स हो गए हैं, ऑफिसर्स हो गए हैं, या फंड्स भी हो गए हैं, गवर्नमेंट के फंड्स नहीं यूज़ कर पाएंगे. मिनिस्टर्स जो है वो अपना कैंपेनिंग जो करते हैं पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के लिए और ऑफिशियल विजिट्स, वो दोनों क्लब नहीं कर पाएंगे. दे विल नॉट बी एबल टू यूज़ एनी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम और एनी गवर्नमेंट बेनिफिट को मास्क करके अपनी पार्टी का ये लोग प्रोपोगंडा नहीं कर पाएंगे. दिस आर द लिमिटेशंस. इलेक्शन मैनिफेस्टोज हैज़ बीन रिसेंटली एडेड, ओके, रिसेंटली ऐड करा है. Election manifestos, usually when we talk about elections, the party, every candidate that is contesting the election, हर एक इंसान बोलता है फ्री बिजली दे देंगे, 24 hours पानी दे देंगे. Depending on the problem of the area, they will make huge promises. So the model code of conduct says that these people are not just supposed to give you a manifesto, they are also supposed to write that how will they fulfill the promises written in the manifesto, है ना. मैनिफेस्टो में सिर्फ क्या करेंगे ये नहीं लिखना है, कैसे करेंगे, what will be the means of doing this, ये भी लिखना है. एंड ऑल्सो इलेक्शन मैनिफेस्टो जो बनता है उसमें बहुत ही ज़्यादा बड़े promises या समथिंग वेरी इम्पॉसिबल या something that would be a burden on the government should not be promised. So this is all in all very general about MCC. If you know this much of the MCC provisions, you will be able to write your answers very comfortably, है ना. But now the question is, MCC जो है उसका कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कोई मेंशन नहीं है. ऑल्सो देर इज़ नो स्टैट्यूटरी बैकिंग. अगर किसी ने MCC ब्रेक करा तो क्या होगा? सो नाउ द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन कम्स इज, डू वी रियली नीड टू मेक इट लीगली बाइंडिंग? Shall we have an act from the parliament? Shall we have an act from the parliament which will make all the provisions binding on the parties, and if not followed then they will be punished? So arguments in favor, there are generally, you know, it's not in force right now, we're talking about enforcing it. So a few of the arguments I will write in this segment, and a few arguments I will write in the other segment. And after this we will talk about the challenges in enforcement of MCC. We will talk about a way forward. We will talk about the recent initiatives of the Election Commission. So when we talk about arguments in favor, there was a standing committee which was constituted in 2013. It said that yes, it should be given statutory backing so that all the political parties, they don't cross the line they're not supposed to, and there would be free and fair elections, or at least the election machinery process will be smoother and it will be easier for all the three stakeholders. Also ECI says that yes, it should be enforced. ECI would sometimes say it should be, and sometimes ECI would say that okay, if it becomes statutory then ECI will lose its powers. So yes, I think arguments in favor, we have to quote the article wherein free and fair elections are you know, the responsibility of ECI. So the enforcement will lead us to fulfilling a constitutional mandate. So these are 2 points that we can write when we talk about arguments in favor, है ना. Then you can make other pointers from what we discussed, the need wala thing, that it will ensure the voters are not influenced, it will ensure all the parties get level playing field. All these pointers you can put here in brief, ठीक है. Now argument against, why should we not have, guys just a second, okay. So here what will be the argument against it? Think about it for a second, let's discuss now. Chalo. First of all, the ECI and various statutory bodies have said that under Article 324, ECI has extraordinary power to enforce the Model Code of Conduct. If we give it a statutory background, what will happen? ECI somewhere will lose its powers, है ना. After this, now just imagine if the case goes in a court of law for violation of Model Code of Conduct. Now you know that there are 5 crore cases pending with the judiciary right now. So if we do this, then what will happen? The pendency will increase, and on time resolution is not possible in a window of 45 days. So what will happen is, it is not practically possible to resolve this dispute via the judiciary in 45 days. We lack a time bound resolution, right? Also right now a lot of these provisions that are, you know, enshrined in the Model Code of Conduct are punishable under IPC, CRPC and by RPA 1951. So having this entire thing have a legal background would somewhere not be very feasible and practical for today. Also, you know, if we give it a statutory backing, what will happen is deterrence in parties will increase. They will be afraid that, oh my god, I will be disqualified if I do this. The party will suffer something, some sort of a, you know, penal provision because of this thing. So it will create deterrence. That is one point you can add in the arguments field. Also here in against one, we have spoken about the ECI, we have spoken about the judicial delays, and we have spoken about the reduction in power of ECI. Right now it has extraordinary power to enforce MCC, but if it's given a statutory backing, the power will shift from ECI to the judiciary. okay, and it is solely the responsibility of election commission to conduct free and fair elections. So this is how you will write your answer if this is one component of the question. Now we will discuss the shortcomings of model code of conduct. So let us look at a few things first. Digital age of political advertisement. You know, when the model code of conduct was derived, what was there? There was just print media, maybe a few flyers. So the model code of conduct used to be ensured, enforced in a proper way, and people could ensure that it is not broken. But these days, there is digitalization of advertisement. So what will happen is political parties may not put the advertisements which would be banned from the ECI during the 45-day period, the roughly 45-day period, but they will be using social media influencers and other accounts to do the advertisements on their behalf. Now ECI does not have the machinery and the capability to check all of this. Also, we know that the US elections were highly meddled by Facebook, right? It is one of the very shocking report of the last decade. Now here the issue is that this digital media companies, they are not based in India. They are registered somewhere else. So it will be very difficult for the ECI to enforce certain rules or jurisdiction or over them. And this digital thing is out of hand. People can have multiple accounts and do whatever they want with these accounts. Also, fake news is a big issue these days. So all these things are because of the digital age, and the political parties would use it to their benefit. So that is one of the biggest shortcomings according to me in today's age. Another, the code does not say what ECI can do and what ECI cannot do. So many times you would see that when elections are nearing, there would be abrupt transfer of officials from one place to another, right? So this is one of the issues which is really bothering people. Also, it does not give power to the Election Commission of India to deregister a political party or to suspend a candidate from contesting elections. As an example, in the 2019 elections, we have seen that the ruling party itself showed compliance deficit. So if the ruling party sets this precedence, it is going to be difficult for the country to have free and fair elections. So the ruling party or all the political parties will have to take an onus of following the model code of conduct on their own. Now the Election Commission of India, is a body of civil servants, and they are appointed by the president on the recommendation of a committee. So it is really difficult. We have seen that the Election Commission finds it very difficult to be neutral on certain things. Like in the last general elections, there were certain complaints filed from the opposition party about the ruling party and no action was taken. And similar complaints were filed from the ruling party for other parties and prompt action was taken. So there comes the Election Commission neutrality issue. Also, the huge thing is that model code of conduct has no statutory backing. So it's just a moral thing that you're supposed to follow. So the parties don't feel any deterrence. They're like, ठीक है, देख लेंगे आगे क्या होगा. They're not really bothered about all these things. Also voters. Now what is the issue with voters? The voters are not aware about the provisions of the model code of conduct. So guys, now understand one thing. Once you know the shortcomings or once you know the challenges for the implementation of model code of conduct, you will be able to think a way forward which is linked to all the issues. So let us look at this. Okay, the aim of this program is what? Is to empower all of you to think We will be doing a lot of topics in this series, but then the way the topic is supposed to be approached will be taught to you in this series, and the series will, inculcate a 360-degree approach. You will start reasoning things and you will start generating points on your own once you follow this series completely. Okay, so now let us understand what is the way forward. So first of all, way forward, the shortcoming was it does not have a legal backing. So here in way forward, what will we write? That it should have a legal backing. Now government advertisements is an issue. How is this an issue? Now when you go out of your house, just observe, every government scheme will have the motive of the ruling party, it will have the pictures of the leaders. So government advertisements should be made in a way that they are very politically neutral. They just talk about the policy beneficiaries and the benefits that they are getting, and not politicize the advertisements. Also the government advertisements, they should be sanctioned 6 months prior to the elections. So when we know the term is ending, we should start sanctioning the government advertisements, and there should be a strict guideline that the government should follow in terms of advertisements. Now we can also say that since we cannot fit the 45-day period with the judicial pendency or the judicial speed, there can be certain special courts which can be held, which would solve the issues or the complaints in a time bound manner. So yes, special courts is a very welcome measure. Now when we talk about the ECI, Election Commission of India, like CBI has been called a toothless tiger, similarly ECI can also be called a toothless tiger. The Election Commission of India does not have many actual powers. So the Election Commission of India should be given power to disqualify candidates who are violating the Model Code of Conduct, and disqualify, deregister, I would say, the political parties which are, again and again breaking the Model Code of Conduct. Paid news is a huge issue which needs to be regulated by ECI if the Model Code of Conduct is enforced properly. Now self-responsibility. All the political parties and all the candidates should, take up the responsibility of adhering to the Model Code of Conduct. Along with it, now since we spoke about the digital issue, all the social media companies like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. should come up with a special responsibility. And actually in the last election, they all came up with a general document of special responsibility in curbing the issues related to the use of social media for election campaigning violative of Model Code of Conduct. And also awareness needs to be spread among citizens for conduct of free and fair elections. They should know what are the provisions, and if the citizens are aware, they would be able to complain to the observer or the Election Commission of India. Now let us see, Election Commission of India is not just sitting there, it is doing lot of things. So let us see what are the recent measures taken by the Election Commission of India. Okay. So we spoke about raising awareness, right? So there is an app which is developed by the Election Commission of India, C-Vigil mobile app. Now, sorry, E-Vigil. Now this app, if you see any malpractice that is happening, you can click a picture and upload on this one. So in a way, this will make you aware about the things, and it is a platform for you to complain as well. Like, there was one general election when a very influential leader of a political party clicked a picture of himself voting outside the voting booth and sent it on social media. Now according to the Model Code of Conduct, around 100 meter radius of a polling booth, no promotional activities can be done. So that case was reported and then it was scrutinized also. Now second point, manpower enhancement. The Election Commission is a small body and it needs a special force for itself in terms of numbers, and it also needs specialists like we spoke about, remember that the Election Commission does not have the capability to scrutinize the social media thing. So it needs more number of people and quality people in terms of curbing the issues that we are facing currently. Voluntary code of ethics. We just discussed the example, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and all these companies, they came up with a voluntary code of ethics when it happened. And social, and this is also new, the Election Commission of India is now asking for all the candidates to submit the details of their social media accounts to the ECI before contesting the elections. There is also a new provision that has been added by ECI, the opinion polls and exit polls. Remember, after the polling day there used to be opinion polls. There would be reporters roaming around asking people that whom did you vote for, who do you think will win, and then they would release opinion poll that this party will get this many votes, this party will have this much, and election is done in phase wise manner. So this influences the voters of the other phase. So what used to happen was, this used to have a trend and the election results were very much influenced by the opinion and the exit polls. So to curb this, the Election Commission of India has also put this opinion and exit polls under a purview that it will not happen during the mandated time. Okay, so this is it for the model code of conduct for today. We will be seeing you with lot of other videos at Sunya IAS in the mains article discussion series. So stay tuned, like our channel, and if you like the video, do comment as well. Thank you very much guys.